Right. Oh, well, thanks for joining us, mate. Really appreciate your time.
No worries, mate. No worries at all. How you doing? All good?
Not bad, not bad. I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, that's all right.
So how would you describe what you do at the moment?
Okay. So, and this is actually, I'm really glad you said that because what I go through. So, I'll give you a bit of background. Anyone listening on me. So, Alex Gribben was in the Marines for 5 years. My sort of backstory in a short sort of summary is that I was dyslexic, overweight, bullied little kid that was quite lost and genuinely, quite depressed. I would say at a young age, decided that I wanted to actually do something in my life, join the Marines, and now my main focus of what I do is I help men that are lacking confidence, regain structure, and become absolute heroes in their own life. That is my main focus and my sort of mission state for my business, really. But yeah, that's in a short summary. That's
Yeah,
what I do.
we'll get
Yeah.
into all that. So where does your confidence come from now?
But
Where does
I
your
feel like now, in the ability of having, oh sorry, having sort of passed out the military, and I think having sort of knew that I wanted to go into this industry and into sort of fitness and training and coaching. And then I kind of started off where I was just a personal trainer, sort of training people one to one, and then doing sort of sessions, and then during this lockdown period of really recently taking on like a business. I suppose what would you call it? A business consultant. So I am sort of under like a mentorship that is to build more. The actual term of it is build more impact for your clients, build more freedom for yourself, but systems that can serve your clients better, and the affordability and the ability to be able to reinvest in that as well with Phil Graham. So what I've been doing with that is sort of skyrocket my confidence, my abilities to serve those guys, and obviously roll from there has been good. But yeah,
so was it your
sort of
time in
summary.
the Royal Marines? Would you say where you gained your confidence?
I'd say definitely. I'd say my time sort of in the military and having actually sort of, like you say, gone from being dyslexic and not really achieving much with myself when I was younger to then obviously actually passing that sort of big hurdle. Definitely, I think that gave me quite a lot of confidence. Definitely.
So were you thinking of was it like the military? Did that seem like your only option at the time, or did you think of doing the other things?
I don't know. I think it's kind of a. Do you want the whole story? Do you want
Yeah,
the
we've
whole
got
kind
plenty
of
of
how
time.
that
That's what we do
came
here.
about? Yeah. Yeah, awesome, dude. So I think like for me, it was kind of. I always said I wanted to do something to do with the military. I didn't really know what at the time. I think like there was one point where I was like, oh, I'm going to be an army chef, and then it was like, oh, I'm going to join the
You're
RAF, and
like
then I'm
Steven
going to. I know,
Seagal.
I know. I literally. Yeah, I remember. I like just had so many different ideas when I was younger. I think like I left school. I didn't really have many, GCSEs. I had sort of like everything apart from English, and that was a big thing. I always kept failing. And I suppose I'll come on to that later actually, because it's quite a good story about actually did finally pass it.
Mm.
But yeah, and then I went into work at retail, and I was working in this shop as like a sales assistant, just doing selling clothes. In sort of top man to begin with, and then I started working in like the Burtons near myself, and I must have been, well, I've probably been like 17, 18 at the time. And that sort of stage where you're just not sure. I'm sure a lot of lads listening to this probably can relate to this as well. You're not really sure what you want to do with your life. And I think that, I'm still figuring that out now, and I think we all are. But I kind of had this point where there was a lad behind the counter who was kind of not really senior to me, but kind of, a bit more higher or whatever you would call it at that point. And he was like 30 years old, not to put it too horribly, but still living at home at his mum, didn't really know what he was going to do. And he'd carried on in this thing. And he actually said to me, go and find something to do. Like, just go and find something. Don't stay here. Because he kind of had, expressed that you'll get stuck in this trap. And I think so many people do. And it's so easy. It's so easy to do, isn't it? To sort of, if you're in a job that you don't want to do, sort of just keep snowballing into it.
Yeah,
And
so
I think,
you saw an example of how you don't. You're like, I don't want to end up like that.
yeah, 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 literally. I think, and he was so honest as well. Which I was looking back, like he won't remember me, so it's fine. But it was a lad called Dean, and like he was so honest about it. He was literally like, "Go and do something." He was literally like 30-year-old lad, like, "Look, mate, like you're only like 18, 19, however old I was at the time. And he kind of was like, "Oh, look, just go, just don't stay here. Like whatever you do, just don't stay here." So I remember that at the time. I was like, as a 17-year-old lad, not many GCSEs, not really a clue what I wanted to do. And then and then I sort of looked at, right, what direction do I want to take this then? Where do I want to go? And then I actually invested in like a college course that was, it was like how do you say it? Like a boarding college course. So like my granddad on my dad's side at the time had left me sort of a decent bit of money, and I knew I wasn't going to go into university, so I sort of thought, well, what I can do instead is invest in that. So I put a decent amount of money into doing 2 years preparation at Bicton College. And even then I joined fully just being like, I know I want to do something, but I still don't know. It was still fully like, I'll just see what happens. And the guy who runs that was an ex-Royal Marines major. So very strongly, straight away, anyone who didn't really know what they wanted to do, I'm pretty sure he had some like commission or something with the Marines. He must
probably.
have like it must be something. So he was very quick to be like, look, like you're quite, I wasn't very I don't know, like book smart, but I was just good at running. I was just good at running at the time. I just ran a lot as a kid. And he kind of was like, look, you do really well. I know that you do well in the Marines, and I think it's definitely something that you want to go for. And at the time, I was still a bit like, oh no, I think I'll go in the RAF, or I'll go to the army as this. And he was like, look, why don't we just put you in it and give you see what happens, and if you pass the test to get in, at least you've got the option. And it was kind of like, okay, cool. And then there were lads that were on like a 6-month course. Stop me if I just whitter on, because I'll talk for England.
Absolutely fine.
Yeah, perfect. There's lads who were on like a 6-month course, and as I went in, like I was in the 2-year one, so I just decided that I wanted to do a bit longer in like that preparation. It was like a BTEC college course, like whatever you'd call it, but you lived there, so you like lived on camp. Like they went through all the sort of generic like what you would be doing. So you were doing like not fully military like style stuff, but you were doing roughly kind of stuff that the military would do with you anyway, and then going through it. So that was quite good. But there were lads who were doing 6 months, and they went into the training straight away for the Marines after those 6 months. So we were watching them actually like going through the training while we were still doing the other year and a half. So that really got me. There was this lad that I was really good mates with. I actually haven't spoken to in fucking years, but called Hayden Wanwell, and his dad was like a WO2 as well. So all like just forcing lads into the Marines really. But yeah, like so at the time he was going through the training. I remember watching him pass out, and I thought, oh my god, like you're talking about like anyone who doesn't really know, like obviously training for the Marines is like 32 weeks, like just under a year. Sorry, just under a year when you include the holidays and stuff. And it is a pretty crazy beast. And someone asked me the other day, like, would you do it again? And I was like, absolutely not. No way. But so I watched him pass out, and I sort of thought like, oh my god, like that's the lad that I was on the college course with 18 months ago, and he's actually managed to get through it, because me and him used to always train together. And I remember thinking like, oh my god, it is possible. And then kind of like I say, I went to actually go in and join, and that kind of, I still didn't, I wasn't confident when I was there. I think actually there's a lot in the Marines that opened up that I probably hadn't really noticed about myself, because I was still very young. I was still, I'm only 26 now, but I was a 19-year-old lad going into this world of 32-year-olds and lads that have gone to Afghan a couple of years ago and all this stuff, and it opens up all these like, oh my god. But yeah, I think then I got injured in training, so I got up to like week 20, got injured, that knocked me back again.
What kind of injury?
Then so I had like a hip tear, so I tore my hip flexor, and then I had like a load of just other like swells and issues.
How long did that keep you up for?
7 months. So I did, yeah. So I was there, yeah. So I went up to week 20, and then at week 20, then got pushed back. So I did 7 months, just in like a rehabilitation, getting fitness, getting everything back up, and then from there went back into and finished the last 12 weeks. But even those last 12 weeks, I remember being like, bloody hell. And I wasn't like anyone who kind of is watching who is military or like knows it, I wasn't a good recruit, I don't think. And I think at the time I didn't really.
I don't know what that means.
Wasn't. Yeah, I suppose the way to think about it is there's lads who really excel, and like this lad called Hayden, who absolutely like fit as a fiddle, super determined. They just go for it and make it happen. Whereas I think I was more like, I'm quite a slow learner. So there's a lot of stuff when you're fatigued and tired that if you're a slow learner and you're even slower, it's like, fuck. So like I end up, can swear on this, sorry, I apologize, I didn't even know. But yeah, like
absolutely fine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, like I think like there was a lot of stuff that I went like I didn't learn as quick, so I just not like skilled in that way. So there was a lot of stuff that I kind of had to take me longer and take a bit longer to do it. But I think I just stubborn. I just was so stubborn and kept doing it. And I remember like when I got to the end, I was genuinely so surprised. I was actually surprised myself. And I say this to the lads that I coach that you will get to the end of like achieving something quite big, and there's a lot of guys that are trying to do quite heavy things that we're trying to help them to do and achieve. To them, it's their sort of phase of
You're
going
helping
through
them
that
achieve their
training.
goals.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like, when I actually finished, I thought, bloody hell, like, I've actually gone through this. Because for
Mm.
ages, like I say, for like the age of like 15, I was thinking, I'm going to be in the military, but I'm not sure what. And I still didn't really think the Marines was attainable. And then when I did it, yeah, went straight from there to a fighting unit. So I went to 4-5, and then literally within 2 months of being passed out the Marines was in Norway. So went
Nice.
straight to Norway and was doing, yeah, and that was all like I think off the top of my head, I think it was exercise whatever, but it was like a 3 month deployment that was completely literally like, you're talking carrying 100 pounds of weight, skiing across the mountains, all this stuff that you sort of think like, wow, that's going to be amazing, and it was, but it's very difficult. Like, you're literally
Mm.
living out of a tent in the snow for like 3 months straight, just off the back of passing out of
So is some
liberty.
aspects of it like what we see on like the TV series SAS Who Dares Wins,
Yeah,
stuff like that?
yeah,
Extreme weather, like sleep deprivation,
yeah, like,
starvation, all that.
yeah. So we went straight into that. So like as soon as I passed out, literally 2 months later, was in Norway. Doing that sort of exercise because 4-5 is quite. Like, so it's in Scotland. So it's based in Scotland. So it's quite known for its sort of cold weather training and like mountain training. It's quite like that kind of place. 4-5. It's sort of nicknamed, like anyone who's watching this in the military will know, but it's sort of nicknamed like one of the hardest units in the Marines, just because there's so much like mountain training and stuff from there. So straight away was in, as I say, like Norway, and then did 3 months of like survival training. The stuff. Have you seen a video where they jump in the water? They
Yeah.
cut a hole in the ice and ski in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did all that sort of stuff, and yeah, yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. So I did that straight away, and then yeah, it was mad. Really, I remember literally going into that and thinking like, bloody hell, I'm out here
Yeah.
straight away. So,
This is
yeah,
one
it
of
was
those
cool. And
moments
that was,
where if we were at my studio, my producer Tech would be pulling footage of this up on YouTube and showing it to us.
yeah, exactly. And then bits, but there are. To be fair, if you can get them in, there are some really cool moments that like the lads do out there in Norway, and
Mm.
it is like there's one point as well, like you say, if you can get the footage of it, it is decent to watch. Like there's one point where they just give you, oh, what do they give you? I think they literally just give you like oh, no, like deer. That's it. A guy comes round and kills a deer in front of you. So like as in reindeer, like it just gets it, like and talks all about like, well, if you were ever in the wild, this is what I'd want you to be doing, and goes through like how to cut it up. And
Mm.
yeah, it sounds, and like anyone who's got
It's
not got a strong
survival. That's
stomach, it
survival
sounds,
skills.
yeah, it literally is like, well, if you're
That
in
might be your only source of food for like a month.
yeah, with like a spoon and stuff, and
They
that
do
was
all the
cool. And
things
then
where they like portion it up and show all the different bits where you can use and you can't
yeah,
use, and
yeah,
try and save it and
yeah,
preserve it.
so he literally talks about like, oh, if you can take the eyeballs out and they've got loads of water, or you can take these out, and yeah, I know it sounds nuts, but like yeah, it goes through all that stuff, and that was really cool. And then they just they obviously in Norway, they're like, right, go out into the wilderness, and we want you to build a fire, we want to build shelter, and we want you to just survive. And then they give you all these bits of deer, and they're like, right, cook it. That's what you've got for the night. And yeah, I remember that being really interesting. But I've done that. You do that in training anyway, where you go through like a thing in the UK, so it's not as bad, but like in Woodbury, and they go through stuff where it's like, here's a deer and a chicken, and we're going to show you how to kill it, and then you got to kill your own and go through this, and that was quite interesting. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I think when you've gone through that year-long process, like I say, for myself, it was almost a year and a half. Actually, looking back, I don't know how the hell I did it. But yeah, you go through that, and then you sort of go into deployments or exercises and those things, and it will give you confidence that you can tackle tasks that you didn't think were achievable. And then I think the sort of the next thing that I went into was kind of, I went away on ship. So that was we went to Estonia and Lithuania and did more training exercises out there with live firing and all sorts of stuff with that sort of point.
You do
And
some
then
training in
in
hot
Scotland,
climates.
Yeah. So I've been to the jungle. So I went to the jungle and did. We did. It wasn't. You know, the lads who anyone who's watching this, it wasn't super jungle. There's like kind of how do you say it? There's like different phases of the jungle training that you can do. So like there's one that's not as, you know, the one like you see on SSU, there's winds and stuff like that. That's quite, I think it's called tertiary, where it's not as dense. Where there's ones where it is like you literally cannot, like you're like that cutting your way through.
Yeah.
And that's the ones that the lads do like properly when they're going like for selection and stuff. And yeah, we did the more sort of tame one because when I was based on ship, I was on like a logistical role. So I was a driver on ship, which is probably the worst job you can do in the Corps. But yeah, I was a driver on ship, and then we did like it was gonna be. And I tell you what, actually, this is quite a good thing about this lockdown and how I think I've been able to teach some principles to the lads of sort of how to adapt and overcome from this experience. But we had a deployment that was meant to be 3 months in Cyprus, so it was going to be awesome, and that turned to it's going to be 6 months, but you're going to go sort of a little bit further afield and, you know, around Southeast Asia. And then it turned into 9 months, and we're going to get like a 2 week period in the middle. And then it turned into 12 months, and you'll get a 7 day period in the middle, but you'll be flying back from Japan. And when you fly back from Japan, to start off with, we'll include the flight time either end. And then we're going to change. So basically it turned into a full like 11 and a bit months away. And in the middle, it was 6 days at home, but 2 of those were your flying days.
Wow.
So it's like, I know. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
you can only do
so
it.
only
A young person can do that.
Yeah, oh mate. Like I think I was like,
so was that like
yeah,
what, 10,
I was like
8 years ago for you?
Oh no, so I've only been out like 2 years, so it's literally like
right.
yeah, that was probably 2 and a bit 3 years ago, so it was probably in that point. So it's like yeah, it was mad to think like that you just get on with it. You just like well yeah, I've got to be away, so I you know it's my job role. But yeah, I think like so we did that, and then did I think in total in the jungle stuff we did about I can't remember about a month or less than that, maybe even like 2 weeks, and then we did some stuff in Oman. So like that's obviously absolutely boiling out there. There's camels and all sorts of stuff, and I think we did about 6 weeks sort of. That was really logistical based, like driving diggers and all sorts of stuff about like sort of stuff like that. But yeah, quite hot bits. But I think the main kind of thing I've been able to gain confidence from is that, like I say, I've been a dyslexic young lad who was, you know, really bullied at school and actually not, you know, not much self-belief, and then being able to obviously go into the forces and achieve, you know, something I felt was really worthwhile. Yeah, 100%. And knowing that if you put your mind to something and you keep working at it, it can happen.
So were they sometimes fair with you when you were out there then?
Oh yeah, like I think in training it's quite kind of very different to them being a trained rank. So like when you're in training, it is obviously you're not scum, but you're the end of the you know the sort of and I get why, because you're trying to learn new processes and learn new things, and actually they need to install that into you. So they're kind of trying to break you down before they rebuild you and take you back up. But I think they're kind of, you know, the job role not as much now, and I think that, you know, it sounds a bit mental, but I obviously never went to war or never really did anything crazy, but they are training you to do that. So I think that that's always in the back of any training team's mind. They can imagine that one day you might be going and fighting wars, and they need to obviously instill that in you and actually see if you're capable of that. And I think like the you know when you pass out, there's a whole different story. There's loads of stuff that just gets kind of put to one side, or that, you know, you are then just in the normal world.
So which pass is out when you actually make it.
Yeah. So when you pass out is actually when you finish and you get presented with a green beret, and that's kind of you good to go. But yeah, I think as well, like what's given me quite a lot of, you know, ability now to kind of keep moving on with that is that I sort of left the military, and when I knew I kind of was like literally on that ship deployment, when I got to the point where I thought I'm not still doing. I don't want to keep doing this, because I think for me it was always a short thing that I wanted to do, and then I kind of decided I think like when everyone else my age was kind of going to university, I sort of thought, well, I don't really want to go to university because I'm not very literate. I want to go and kind of do something for 4 years. And I think that for me, like I mentioned there, where the guy called Dean said, go do something. I think for me that was a big deal. But yeah, so I think that was a big thing. And then as I kind of moved into this world where I've done like coaching and personal training, obviously coaching just
So
now,
what was you?
I think that I've
What
kind
was
of
your decision to leave the Navy then? What was there a final straw or?
I think kind of like I sort of mentioned that I didn't really I knew that I wasn't going to stay. I think I sort of knew, well, I'm not going to be in here for, there's lads that you probably hear about that do 20, 30,
Yeah.
40 odd years, stay for absolutely ever. But I think for me it was more a case of like, I know that I'm not going to be here forever. I'd saved a decent amount of money while we're away, and I just knew that it was a good time to sort of get out
So were you
and
planning
leave.
while you were in there what you were going to do afterwards?
I sort of put things in place. So I kind of started putting things in place. So we had like I had like a 6 month rehabilitation, kind of knew that I was going to be leaving at that point. And you literally just pretty much, because the lads, like anyone who's watching will know, because they know you're going to leave, they pretty much just put you to one side and go and
Wow.
get on with whatever you need to do before you
Right.
leave, which is quite nice actually, because you can kind of just sort of be
Less
like,
pressure.
I'll just go and yeah, and you just go and prep, and you're not really working, and like you say, it's a big lifestyle jump. So to be fair, there's a few funny stories about that, which I don't know why I panicked so much, but I guess and everyone does. But oh mate, I was like, the weirdest thing was I knew that I was buying a place, so I was buying like where we live now, the flat where we live, as I was leaving. But I also knew that I was starting a business, so I like my head was so obviously scrambled.
Two
So
big
I was literally
life
like,
events.
yeah, I know. I was like, I actually even looking back at that now, I'm like, how have I done that? Like for 2 years, like, but and even obviously the way I want to sort of take the business now, but like, yeah. So at the time, I knew that was going to happen, and I wanted to give myself like a proper fighting chance. So I literally was like digging into my parents' loft and like selling everything that I could get hold
Yeah.
of on eBay and
Because for
stuff,
most
just
people, it
because you
would be
do.
one or the other. Do I get a house or do I start this business?
Yeah,
No, I'll do
yeah,
both.
yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
both. Why not?
Stay with a solid career or become self-employed. And it's like, nah, I'll just do both. Just give it a go. So yeah, I think that was nuts. And then I worked in like a box factory for sort of like I think it was like 3 or 6 months, doing like literally just doing whatever I could until I knew that we moved here. And then as we moved here, like, it was pretty mad. On the Friday we moved here, and on the Fridays when I knew I was going to stop getting paid from the military, and then on the Monday, I was due to start as a self-employed personal trainer at the gym. So there was absolutely no guarantee that I was going to make any money on that Monday. And I remember literally being like, oh my God, like, I don't even know if this is going to work. Like, I'm going to have to go work in the box factory again. Like, I was lining up, like, and I always say to lads about like, have a bit of a backup plan with whatever you're doing. I was lining up like pizza jobs and like,
Mm.
going to work in bars and like anything else that I needed to do just in case that
But
it
you know
didn't
you can
work.
always get jobs like that, whatever happens. You know you can.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's like sort of like you say, like the dean kind of job, in the sense of like anything that I could just jump into for a bit. And I kind of looked at it, and then I remember I had my literally first like consultation. I had like 3 booked on that Monday, which even like the gym owner, the guy who sort of ran the gym and stuff, like at the manager at the time, was like, bloody hell, that's nuts. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to make this work, because I didn't really have like when I first started, I'll fully admit I didn't really have like a purpose or vision of
So you're
why I
just
wanted to do
personal
it.
trainer at
Like,
the beginning.
yeah, literally just doing like one-to-one sessions in the gym floor. And I kind of just was like, yeah, that's like like a good idea. I'll give that a go and
In
see
a
how it
way, though,
goes.
I
I know
think
a lot of
it's
lads.
good. I think it's good that you made those decisions. You committed to it because you put pressure on yourself, like lots of money and
Yeah,
like lots of life decisions hanging on it. Makes you more
yeah.
determined that you're actually going to go through with it.
I think, yeah, 100%. I think, like you say, it's almost like do or die, or like kind of like, oh, I'll go that way. It's kind of like you've got to make it work, and you're like, I know, because I had 3 months like fully like resettlement, so I could completely go and do what I want for 3 months, but still get paid by the military. So I was still getting paid, but I was working in a box factory for like an agency. So at
Yeah.
that time, I like experienced, if I had to leave the military and go work in like a, no offense to anyone who does it, because you do what you need to do, work in a job where I didn't really want to be there.
Yeah.
I kind of had that, like you say, that mentality of like, I knew that I didn't want to go back to that. So I was like, I know that personal training, no matter what, will always be better than that. So I
Mm.
kind of, yeah, sort of the first day, literally made the first like 3 month commitment off somebody, and thought, bloody hell, like, oh my God, I've done my first like sale, or whatever you'd call it at the time,
So
or
it's like a
got my first
guaranteed
client.
chunk of money for a while.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think like obviously I won't go too much into what I sort of
No, no,
charge
no,
now
no.
but like I think it was like 300 quid. It was like 300 quid first day for like 3 months or whatever. And
It's an
yeah, I
achievement.
remember
It's an
sort of thinking,
achievement.
yeah. I think I'd gone from, like you say, like the box factory kind of work to self-employed in the first day was
Mm.
like, oh my God, I've actually made money here. And yeah, and then I don't think I made anything else for the rest of that week, but still, yeah, but still. And then kind of that kind of snowballed, and eventually I ended up with I had at the very, I'm not going to say peak because that's a bit of a mad thing to say, but I think at the time when I was doing quite well in that, I had about 35
Oh, you're broken up.
clients that were
I think we've lost you.
paying X amount per month, which was quite nice. And then obviously we had COVID-19 happen and the gym's completely shut. And again, I was, kind of facing that, like similar to when you're in training, like I said about, having being injured and all those things kind of happen. You're kind of facing that point where you're like, oh my God, my life is like gone. Like, all this stuff that you've spent 7 months and thinking that, oh, I'm going to have to go work in a box factory again. I'm going to have to do this. And it was like, but yeah, so I had that all happen. And then very fortunately, I sort of reacted quite quickly. And I think a lot of my confidence has come from, or the ability to install confidence in others has come from those shit situations where you are facing an issue and a problem, and you've got to go after it, and you've got to like switch on to the fact that you can't. I always say, lads, like, don't be victim for a solution of what you can get to make happen. And then yeah, so I kind of, in the end, I was doing Zoom sessions to begin with, the first sort of lockdown, and I was just doing whatever I could to make sure that I kept my clients happy and kept the business going. And then eventually, as I say, I invested quite a heavy amount of money. Obviously, it was a smart move because it's really worked now in Graham's mentorship and his business mentorship to help you, grow your business online, but also help really impact your clients' lives and build systems that are bulletproof to make sure you're going to get people a result. And,
So did you
and
say
yeah,
was it the
and then
first
that was something that,
lockdown that
again, like
was
I
it the first
say,
lockdown that led you to branch out a bit?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The first one I kind of was looking at. I remember at the time, anyone who knows me or has viewed the page and stuff was looking at what I was doing. And then quite luckily, at the time of Phil sort of coming along and being able to obviously help me understand how to actually run a business properly and actually deliver a great service to your clients. And, Jacob obviously could probably vouch for that so far already. I hope so, but touch wood. But yeah. And then at the same time, obviously got approached by Ollie and the Battle 360 team and those guys. And that's been great because it's obviously given me a bit more of
So what's the Battle
a
360
platform.
thing then?
Yeah, so Ollie Ollerton and Jason Fox have created their own brand called like Battle 360 and Battle Ready Fuel. So it's they sell like home workout sort of kit, and they also sell other little bits of kit, and then obviously their own clothing, and also they've got sort of like the Breakpoint team where they do like all the SAS Who Dares Win stuff. They've done a lot of stuff with those guys. So they've got their own brand, and then I've just joined on as one of their athletes, which has been really cool. So it's obviously given me a bit more of a platform to work off, and obviously more interest, which has been really good. So the two of those guys together, I think, have definitely helped like Phil with actually how to run a business properly, and then obviously the SAS Who Dares Wins guys, and that opportunity has obviously helped that sort of move forward, which again is kind of what I sort of say to the lads, that the more you keep doing something that's difficult, the more likely it is that eventually you'll get that springboard forward, which has obviously gone quite well in the last sort of 6 to 8 months. But yeah, I think that the confidence, I would say, is probably a bit of a different. It's just me blabbered on there, but yeah, sorry, Mark.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think confidence is definitely something that, because I've faced already quite a few difficult decisions and, like I say, issues with myself, and I've kind of been able to push through those. And a lot of the, like you say, mentors that I've already had myself, such as Phil, such as Di Phillips, or even to a point, maybe even that lad Dean, who said, "Go and fucking do something in your life."
Looking
I
back,
think, that's actually been quite handy to understand those lessons and learn that. But yeah, that's I'd say mainly in a longer story, that's where it's come from.
But some
Yeah,
people would say that I've heard people say don't have a plan B, because if you have a plan B, you'll never do plan A. You'll just fall back. It's like a safety
yeah,
net. It
yeah. I think
depends on the person though, because everyone's different.
Yeah, I think or make your plan B something you really don't want to do.
Yeah,
like if you make it something where you're like, I'm not going back in to work in a box factory at 20, 6, 7 years old and do X, Y, and Z. Like you're not going to want to do it, are you? You're like, no,
that's
I'm not
true.
doing this. So I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think
or
when
even
when we go back to if normal, whatever normal is, that you'll still do both? Because doing the online
no,
Zoom
no,
stuff,
no. That is me 100% now. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense in a couple of sort of scenarios, mainly because the service that we deliver now is so, it does take a lot of my time. So there's a lot of stuff that we do for the lads, such as loads of different things. So like obviously I build each individual person their plan and actually work that around their life. So such as Jacob and in his own career will actually build that. So that takes a lot of my time, the education and bringing in the external coaches and paying mindset coaches, other coaches, and all those people to come in takes a lot. And then the support element and the community and the accountability and everything that we do now is it's quite a lot of systems that I have to run. So realistically, the service is 10 times better than what I was doing in the gym anyway,
right?
and
So
it
you'll
gets a better
stay.
result.
This
So
is
I'd
you'll
much
stay
rather.
like this now.
Yeah, this is me. This
Wow.
is me. I reckon for at least ten
I
more
noticed though
years.
that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
only on
100%.
Instagram.
Because
You're
I
not
think
on Facebook or Twitter yet.
no, no, no. Yeah, on Facebook as well. Yeah, on Facebook as well.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
on
find a
all
page.
platforms.
I could just find a personal profile.
It'll just be no. There's one there. I think it is just Alex Gribben coaching or Gribben coaching or
Oh,
Gribben
right,
personal
okay. Are
training. But I need
you
to
on
get that.
Twitter?
I think the coach. No, no, no. I think Instagram, obviously Alex Gribben coaching, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are the three at the moment that we're working off. YouTube. Eventually, I'll get into it, but
You definitely
yeah,
should
I'm
do
not. I'm not
YouTube.
too savvy.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely for this stuff, like you say, it's definitely worthwhile because it's you can just get a lot more interactive with people. Definitely, you
Have
can't
you
even
done
see
much
more reviews.
targeted
But
advertising so far?
no, so at the moment, what I kind of do with like the avatars and everything that we go through with marketing with Phil, do you mean in the sense of like paid
Yeah,
advertising
yeah,
or?
yeah.
So not yet. Until you hit a certain point, income wise, he obviously doesn't suggest you do something
I
else.
see.
Just because, yeah, when you get to a certain point, but there's a lot of other sort of systems I'd say that we go into, and that ways in which we can then obviously recruit people who want to join and look
Yeah.
at see if we can help is the biggest thing.
Because
But
the only
yeah,
real
lots.
useful thing about when you get to that paid advertising stage is the demographics of your customers and your users. It's
Yeah,
very useful
yeah,
data.
yeah, and you can obviously you literally get a Facebook pixel and look through it all, can't you, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, but no, I think yeah, like I say, I think at the point the stuff that Phil's taken us through it is fantastic. It is really
Yeah.
good, and I think I needed that definitely. Like I'm, as I say, quite like I think a lot of people what they do, and I look at this in the same way with the way that I coach my lads and the lads in the program, that you can kind of try and do stuff yourself for so long, can't you? And not really get anywhere and not really figure it out. Whereas it's so much easier just to get someone to do it for you, or not necessarily do it for you, but actually talk you through
Mm.
what's going to go wrong or what's going to go right or how you can work through it. And I think so many people relate that to their physical and mental health in the sense of like when you're building a business, and like I say, when you've gone from working in the Marines, working in a box factory, and then you try and start your own business, you don't really have a clue. Like you don't, no one really is going to say like, right, you should charge this much. This is how you
Yeah.
market. Like say, this is how you fulfill those clients and get them a result, which therefore that you can showcase. And I think like you don't really understand it. And for me, definitely like being ex-military, I always need direction. I think that's something I definitely learned about myself. But like, yeah, I think like the same with people's health and fitness that, I talked about this today, sort of in a bit of a post and said that like, you can have a problem for like 5, 10, 15 years and let it go under the radar and not even notice, but yet never seek to actually solve that issue. So in a sense of like, say if you had been underconfident and you weren't happy with your body and you weren't happy with yourself. Now, it's completely fine to need help, but it's not completely fine to stay stuck. So it's in the sense of
Yeah.
like, say if you had, some lads since last January will have started having issues because of this lockdown. And I know personally, like I had loads of things where I wasn't holding myself to a higher
I
standard,
think we all
and I
have.
wasn't. Yeah, I think it's so natural. Like when the gyms are closed and you're not going to see anybody, and a couple of my clients, like Jamie, one of my clients said to me, like, well, "What's the point? Because we're not going to see anybody, and
Mm.
we're not life's not normal. So why
For
should
me,
I
it's
even
not playing
bother?"
football every week.
Yeah, and like you might, or even like think about this, like people don't really think about it, but like when you wake up and you have a shower, brush your teeth, get changed, and go to work, you're expending calories because you've had to wake up at maybe if you start at 7, let's say. You've had to wake up at 6. You've had to make sure you're getting ready. You've had to make sure you're going to work. You've had to make sure you're doing all this. Whereas suddenly you're in a position where you're like, you can get up at 6:45.
Oh, you don't have to.
Not
You don't
even
even have to get up.
Yeah, you just sit in bed and go
Some
for
people
it.
don't have to get up.
Yeah, and it's so even for me, like I so obviously went from PT to online, and the difference is so contrast that there's so much different that you're doing. Like I have my own health and fitness coach, like Isaac, who coaches,
Right.
and even like I say, like you get a point, don't you, where you're like, it's so different. And I had from the first lockdown all the way up until like when did I hire Isaac? So October, was having issues with my own confidence, was having issues with my own energy, was just smashing like 4, 5, 6 coffees a day, sitting in here and going to work on the laptop and stuff. And I think like you can have for so long, you can let that go forward. And I think like the biggest issue with that is you don't see the big effect that it's going to have down the line.
Yeah.
So I know for me, like business was starting to, not go as well as I wanted to. My effort levels and my energy with the lads wasn't as good as it was.
So you just weren't keeping on top of it as much.
Yeah, I just wasn't doing what I needed to do. And I think you put this sort of barrier in front of you, don't you? And I've had it with lads this week already, who didn't want to take action, but they've had issues for 5, 6 years. And you look at it and think like, well, yeah, you've 5, 6 years of going by and not actually, serving yourself best can happen so quick. I mean, like 2020, I don't know about for yourself, Mark, but how quickly did that go?
It's a blur.
Rapid, yeah. And
I think
then
for some people, 2020 compounded a lot of stuff from previously.
Right, yeah. And then before you know it, that's the thing is me and Drew talked about this, like one of my good mates, and like that compounding effect, if you've got 0.1% off course, so say like you are not sleeping properly, you're not drinking enough water, you're not doing the right nutrition, you're not even training, like there's lads who've bought loads of kit in the first lockdown and they've not used it. And it's like, well, you keep doing that for say like a year to 2 years to 5 years, like one day might not be too bad, but 5 years later, it'd be the same with your podcast you've been doing for the last 4 years. The first view might have been one view, but now it'd be however many. But it's over time, isn't it? Everything compounds. So good and negative things compound. So if you have a negative routine and structure that doesn't serve you, 10 years down the line, that could be pretty serious. Like you could have had 1 year in the lockdown where you've not really done the health and fitness things that you need to, but 5 years down the line that could be something quite an issue. And we don't get underconfident or out of shape or mentally drained or in a low energy
breaking
state.
Habits and breaking routines, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't get like that from one day that's bad. We get like that from years. We get like that from time and time over again. And it's the same with how you become positive and how you be able to become more confident. You don't get like that from 7 days or some quick fat loss fad. I think that's what I try and really install in the lads, is that commitment will get you started, but consistency will get you the results you want. And I think that so many people have spent the first year of this pandemic and this craziness, and I fully understand why. I'm fully committed to, I fully understand why you do it, lads. And it's that thing where you let that take over, don't you? And I think so many people have done it without even noticing. It is.
What are the main confidence issues that men are coming to you with?
I think loneliness, because there's so much that like lads are sort of feeling alone. I think when you haven't trained for that long and you haven't had the knowledge and understanding of what to do without a gym, it can be that you sort of self-discipline, self-structure, routines, energy can really go downhill. And there's that sort of, someone said this to me today, you can't see the light, through the trees because you can't see a positive future. Yeah. And I think when you run out of future, that's when it gets like, I can smell this guy. That's when it gets fucking dark. Like when you start really thinking in your head, you're like, look, what's the fucking point? That's
this pandemic really hasn't helped a lot of people, has it?
Yeah. I think like we could fully go into this, but like I think the government haven't realised about a lot of issues they're causing people. Because like I said this to like my partner Becca, like I'm quite a cheery bloke, quite positive, but even like now getting a bit of a drain on
Yeah, I'm
that.
the same. I'm the
And
same.
I've got work. I've got, still a business to run with the lads. I've got obviously the stuff with Ollie and the rest of the lads and those
But
guys.
it's still
Still
a
got,
thing that's hanging over you, isn't it? This
yeah,
whole
yeah.
situation.
And I think that, I look at, like, say if you were on furlough and you were, so you still getting paid, but you don't have work. So you're sort of like, your purpose is gone. You may be not in the right training habits and routines that you want to, and you have no reason to fucking get up,
Yeah,
and you've got no,
that's dangerous.
like,
That is.
actual, yeah, and you've got no social life. There's a point where if you're getting up at midday and you're staying up all night and you're eating pizza and you're ordering 5 takeaways a week to give you something to do. There's that for 3 months, that for a day or a week is a bit funny, but for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is pretty dangerous, like you say, and it can be something that I think a lot of lads have done for the last 12 months
Yeah.
without even realizing that's what they've been doing. And actually, when they look back at it, they think, "Fucking hell, yeah!" Like
It's
I
like
haven't
if you
even
see a
been getting
photo
up.
from a year ago to now.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Like
think, like,
me,
I
this is my
started.
my this like I've had to let my hair go. I normally have it like shaved and spiky and gel. It's like
Yeah,
I've just
yeah.
given up now.
Yeah. And I think, like, all those things creep in. I get Becca to cut my hair, which is good, but like all those things creep in. So, like you say, like, all that issues creep in. So, like, not having a gym and not mentally being sound and not actually being in any solid routines and being lonely, and
Yeah.
all of that ends up, spiraling into something that I think the government probably actually need to address. And I think that there's no wonder that the certain statistics are higher than you would think. And I think that's what lads come to me with, is they're like, I just
Yeah.
want to fucking feel part of something, and like I want to feel not alone. And I think, like, obviously what we're able to do, and any of the lads in the program will know, is get people together and talk about the issues.
Yeah.
Because I think that when you do feel alone and you feel pretty hopeless and you're depressed and you're not got, mentally you're not quite sound, it is very easy to let that continue.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard. It's difficult for me sometimes to explain to people what they're causing themselves. But sometimes when you actually explain it and you say, like, well, tell me, if your future from now, if you keep doing it, what's it going to look like in 10 years? And they don't say it's very
they've never
nice.
thought that far ahead, have they?
And mate, we don't, like, I think, like,
Oh, we don't want to.
I knew, yeah, I knew, like, every podcast I do, every live I do, always get really deep. But, like, like, I think every person who's ever been in the military or ever, like, had lads and stuff that have had, issues, I think you all sort of get to appreciate that you are going to die. Like, you are having, there is going to be a point when you are going to not be on this planet anymore. And I think that you want to make sure that your time is as good as possible. And, like, we all put these barriers in front of ourselves because of money or because of not being able to afford it or self-doubt or not thinking you're worthy of what you want to achieve. And it's actually complete bollocks, because there's such a small amount of time you're on this planet that you need to make sure that you're using that time and structure. But I think that's what happened, is a lot of lads that I coach now, and we help get together and feel part of something. So they're working towards, it's not just burpees in your kitchen, it's making you feel good
That's
about
kind of
yourself.
Like a starting point, isn't it? I think
it's
exercise and, like, diet and trying to get into routines, like, probably, I don't know if it is the first point, like, because if you tire your body, you can tire your mind, which you sleep better, and then you're maybe a bit more productive, a bit more positive.
And then you might end up doing stuff that's more, you're not turning to short-term gratifications like takeaways, because you're thinking, oh, I don't actually need that to make me happy.
Yeah.
You're kind of, and then when society opens up, you're going to be positive, because you're like, well, I've trained really hard, and I've, like you say, kept myself in a routine and structure, and I've given myself purpose every day, and that sort of snowballs into a big effect. But I think, I think, like you say, there's a big effect of the opposite of that, isn't it? When you don't feel like you've got anyone to turn to, or, I know for me, the first lockdown, I didn't have a coach. So the first lockdown, I was, not really knowing what to do with my health or my fitness or any of it. So you're kind of just doing thousands of burpees and random workouts and just not really actually putting it together.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big thing, is trying to give lads sort of ability and purpose again, and hope. And I kind of say it a lot to them, like, because I know that I've done, I'm not going to say like miracle things, because I wasn't, in special forces or anything, but I think, like, because I know I've done quite hard things that I never thought were achievable, and been able to kind of get past that with a few good pointers from some support and people pushing me to there. I probably believe in the lads that are in my program more than they do in themselves. And I think that's
but
the
they
big
also
thing for
believe
me,
in
is
you
like,
because of what you've done.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and that's kind of I say like, look, I, genuinely like I was very bullied at school, dyslexic as hell. I don't know how the fuck I passed that on Marines, but yeah, like, I look at them and think say sort of stuff like that, where I'm like, look, lads, it is achievable. You just need to apply yourself and be willing to do it. And I think
Yeah.
that's what will get you there. And yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing. I think the reason, like my sort of mission statement, is to I get so I knew I get so deep,
Come
but
on,
it's all
go for
good.
it.
My sort of mission statement for my business is to combat. So I'm not saying cure because that's the wrong word. Is to combat male depression, and I think like I want to stop the thought of someone not wanting to be on this planet
Yeah.
ever entering their mind. Because for me, it's so strong that that's not where I want any man to go. That I really don't, but years before, I'm not talking like a couple of weeks. I'm talking like years before they ever think that it would happen. And whether that's physically or mentally, that's the biggest thing for me is that combating male depression globally.
You're sort of
And I say
changing their
combat
route
because
early on to that path, aren't you?
yeah, I want because I think I always talk to the lads about it's like a point where you might, if you keep doing what you're doing, and I sort of say to them, well, in 10 years, what's the issues? And they say, I'll be really depressed and I won't have a partner and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, we need to change that then,
Yeah,
don't
because
we?
it can
And it's like,
snowball.
yeah, we do. Yeah, and I think like the same thing could have happened for me, or there's certain situations where it might have got close to that, and I think you look at it and think like fuck that, like like we talked about already, we've only got one life, and I think for me that's why it's really important to actually like go for this and what I'm doing. And I think it's a lot of lads get a bit confused about what we do because it's not just me. Like there's oh bloody hell, so there's five people well there's five people at least internally with like specifically with the lads that we coach together that help show. And then in the background, there's probably at least 20 odd others that sort of, direct. But I think it helps loads of other men achieve men that platform. And yeah, definitely. That's my mission statement, really. But I knew I'd get really deep. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
But
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of the core of it is like idleness is dangerous. To have no purpose, nothing to do, and I
Yeah.
always think one of the main barriers to self growth is yourself. So sometimes it takes another person to sort of
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
that obvious to you.
I think like and like Phil said this, like Phil Graham's obviously like my mentor and like well Phil and Isaac really, but like he's always said like you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that got you into it. So like I can't remember who that's a quote from, but you've got to think that like when you're in an issue that you've got, like you say, idleness or no purpose, or you're eating takeaways or you're ordering 5 or 6 Amazon orders just to have something to open, like you kind of in that position because you've put yourself there, whereas you can't drag yourself out of that hole on your own because you've been digging it for that long. And like we might have thought that it was only going to be 3 months, just like that deployment. You
Yeah.
thought that first deployment was going to be 3 months, and then it was 6, then it was 9, then it was 12. So I relate a lot to the lads about that. And I think that when you anticipate that it was only going to be that long, you're thinking short term. So you might only put in things place. You're like, oh well, I won't bother with X, Y, and Z because it's only short term. And then, like you say, it snowballs and you can't get out of it. And like I have conversations with lads all the time, and they're like, yeah, I feel like I've been stuck for a year. And I'm like, you've been stuck for 12 months of your life already, and there's another X amount. And when we sort of dig a bit deeper, it's actually been prior to the lockdown, and it was 4 years prior to that, and it's been
Yeah.
5 years.
And
And yeah, and
a bad thing that could happen is society opens up again, yet they don't embrace it.
yeah. Or they don't, you don't go back to, like those short moments when it did last year, and lads were like, yeah, I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want to go back to gym because I didn't feel comfortable the way I looked.
Yeah.
And we all do it, don't we, Mark? Like you said there, like yourself, you hold yourself back, and there'll be people listening to this where so many times you might have said to yourself, oh, I'm going to, when I get a little bit fitter, I'll get to the gym. And it's like, well, how are you getting there? Like, how are you?
That's what the gym's for.
Yeah. And it's like, but it's like, there's so many, I think as blokes, I think I talk about this a lot with the lads who apply to join. Like, I think as blokes, we're always never going to admit that we might not be in a good position.
There's a lot of
So
ego and
yeah,
reputation
like
or
yeah.
social standing. What other people
Yeah.
think. A lot of that's stopping you being you.
Yeah. And I think like you know all the time, like I think it took me a little while to actually be like, yeah, I'm not all right. Like, yeah, I've got like this is going on with me, and I maybe need some help from Isaac, or I need help in these areas. And I think for ages you can do it, can't you? And I think women are probably better at putting their hand up and asking for help. They're
Yeah,
like, yeah, I need to lose some weight.
I would
I need to
agree.
sort. Whereas like blokes are like, oh no, it's just a bloke thing, and like,
Or they
oh
just say,
no,
"Yeah, I'm fine," when they're not.
yeah, and it's like, well, actually, no, you need to talk about this more, and we need to look at like
It's
what's going on
talking.
with
The
that.
actual talking is probably one of the
Yeah,
stopping points.
yeah, and I think like it's quite good to obviously get the lads together every week and just genuinely just discuss issues
Because
or
I think that's an
potential
important
issues.
interaction, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think like even like this, like we
Yeah,
literally just get the lads together on a Monday and a Saturday, and then Wednesdays we do all our training lectures. And like on a Monday it's kind of just in general set the week up positive, and then Saturday debrief what wasn't. And I
yeah.
think like we don't do that often. I think no, like the rat race in general, and like I say, when I worked in that box factory, kind of experienced a bit of it of just Monday to Friday, get to the weekend, piss it all up the wall, drink in the pub, and yeah,
Yeah.
and then the next Monday go back to normal, normal whatever. You never actually sit back and review the week and go, well, why am I not happy?
Hmm.
Like, why am I not confident in myself? What's going wrong that I keep doing? Like you said about the compounding effect, but yeah, I think that definitely is like something I want to help lads understand and be like, well, if you're not even planning out your week to be positive, no wonder it's not going the way you want it to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
I
a
think the
big deal.
effects of
But
this pandemic are gonna, even if we say by
yeah.
September we're pretty much back to normal, the effects are probably gonna have for like, especially with confidence, for a few years.
Yeah, I think easily. Like you think of like you say, like you maybe you'd start getting into the gym or into some form of routine or structure or whatever prior to the COVID and everything completely going on lockdown, and then now you might be self-conscious to go back to a health and fitness sort of
There'll be a lot
relationship.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, like you don't just overnight change something. Like you don't go, I've not been training in the gym for 12 months and I've not been eating properly and I've not done anything that I need to and I've stayed up to 1 in the morning and been eating pizzas to I'm going to eat super healthy and straight in the gym. It's like, well, no, that didn't
It's
work
just small
because
steps, isn't it?
yeah. Like the zero to hero phase. So like any of the lads who watching who are already in it, like Gannon and Jacob and the lads that are in, like the zero to hero phase inside my coaching, inside what we've built is literally what is it? So it'd be 9, so 12. So it's 36 steps over the course of 12 weeks. And it is literally 3 steps every 12 weeks, every 2 weeks. So it's literally three steps every 2 weeks where we're like, right, we're going to address these issues and see if you can stick to it for 14 days. And then the next 14 days, next 14 days. And like you say, those 36 kind of structures and routines that we get them to build, just very simple, literally just very, very simple things that I want them to say, because it's so easy to go, oh, I'm going to train 5 times a week and I'm going to eat nothing but chicken and rice and I'm going to, like wake up in the morning, journal for 15 minutes. And it's like, well, that's not how it works. Like, you just won't stick to it and you
No.
won't do
Plus,
it. Whereas
everybody's
it's like,
different, so it works
yeah,
for
yeah,
what works for one person doesn't work at all for the other person.
yeah. Or they might not enjoy it. And like you say, they
Yeah.
might actually, that doesn't fit for your life. And it's like, it's not even worth doing. So we kind of like the first couple of steps are like, right, I just want you to drink 3 liters of water, try and sleep for 6 to 8 hours a night and just look at what you eat. Don't
Yeah.
don't necessarily change it. Just let me know what you're eating.
Yeah.
And then kind of we just build on that and like you say, and then it like little systems will kind of come up with. So like some lads really like I'm quite into I'll show this now. So I'm quite into like writing out my weeks every week on like a planner. But some lads I'm like just literally just get it in your phone. Or like,
Yeah.
this, like you say, you kind of build those routines that are going to best serve you. And then as we go into 3 months later, they're fully squared and they've gone from a zero to a hero. And I think a lot of lads look back and they think like, what the hell? How have I done all these
Mm.
steps? And it's like, well, yeah, but it's because you've not tried to do it in a week. And like you
Yeah.
say, it's there's so many things that people will stop doing now that when it goes lockdown, finishes, they won't even think about doing. But yeah,
So
that's
these are
definitely
some of
like,
these are
I
like
think,
self-discipline. I don't know if they call them skills, but
yeah.
traits that they would pick up and hopefully they'll keep afterwards and apply to other
Yeah,
aspects of their
yeah.
life.
Yeah, so like I 100% would always advocate to the lads that once you start with our program, we don't want you to ever need anything else. So we don't want you to ever have to Google anything else or be confused So last night we went through like fat loss. So Becca took the lads through like how to burn fat, and actually went through all the theories and the understanding, and actually how it all works for you. Like each individual would be different, and how it would specifically work for themselves. And like you say, I think a big thing that a lot of people do is there's so much information, like there's so much information, and there's so much that you can get confused. Yeah, and then you try to implement it all at once, and like you say, it ends up a bit like crazy. Whereas I think having it dialed in and actually being able to like focus on when you need to learn it and implement it and move forward with it, it just makes it simple. I know for me, the same thing with my two mentors in sort of above me, it definitely just makes it easy. It's like, well, you do that step and then that creates this, and so on and so forth. But yeah, definitely, I think.
I remember a few years, 12 years ago when I broke my wrist and I couldn't play football for ages. And gradually I put on weight, but I didn't really realise. Then I started doing a bit of exercise, and I saw a photo of myself where I was before, and I was like, wow, I'm really not happy with how I look now. Not like a self-confidence thing. I was just like, so I just decided I was just going to cut out sugar. So I just cut out like no sugar in my tea anymore, no chocolate bars, no sugary drinks. And over the space of like a year, I lost 1.5 stone, just bit by bit.
There you go.
And I just felt much better. So that was just that was one thing where I did look it up. It's like, what are the effective ways to lose weight? And you do not need sugar was one of the things. You don't need it. So cut it out. If you're doing a bit of exercise and you're eating okay, as long as you cut out sugar and you're burning some calories every day, it'll just gradually drop off because your body uses sugar to store fat. So otherwise it'll start, if you don't give it sugar, it'll start burning your fat.
I think it's like little things. It's never going to be like, and I always advocate to my lads, like, what I want to teach you is not a crash diet. Like you said there, it's one thing that you've implemented and you've got a result. And I'll always say to the lads, like, I only ever want you to do something if you can do it for the rest of your life. Because if they can't do it for the rest of their life,
pointless
it's like,
if you can only like stick to it for 6 weeks or even 6 months, and then after that, I can't do that anymore. What's the point?
And like, you know, I like fucking touch wood, I don't get sued. But you look at stuff like, oh, we're going to give you sin foods, and it's like, no, it's not a fucking sin food. like, no, you can eat it if you want, as long as you can stick to it. And it's like you say, as long as it's simple for you to implement.
It's like if you've seen like The Rock on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he has also his cheat days when he's like piles of pancakes. Like,
and you're like, geez.
But for the rest of the week, he's had perfect diet, so he's allowed to do it.
Yeah,
so
and it's like
he builds his week with all his hard work, looking forward to that at the end of the week. Why not?
Yeah. It's mad. That's nuts, isn't it? He is mad. Obviously, he's like another level, but like, it's crazy.
So I was going to ask you, what's your general diet like? Do you stick to it, or do you have days off?
Yeah. So my sort of like, I say like our kind of routine is quite simple. Like Becca does a lot of our like sort of meal preparation or cooking.
Is that your other half?
Yeah. My partner. So like a lot of my like morning routine is just like normal coffee, porridge, and then obviously Battery Fuel. Obviously I've got to promote the brand. But they're like protein shakes and stuff in the morning. And then lunch I'll just do I quite like wraps, like chicken wraps, and that's quite an easy like. Tortillas are quite, decent, not heavy calories. Like chicken wraps are quite good, and then curries and like normal, just whole foods, just stuff that's going to give you like good amounts of energy. And then I'm getting ready for like not a photo shoot, like body shoot, but like just a normal promotion shoot in March. So all I've done is, basically from like the first lockdown to now. So I'm just drop the calories literally by 200 a day. So it's not ridiculous. It's just not as heavy, but still like burgers, massive fan of burgers. So like, if I want a burger on a Saturday night, we'll have a burger on Saturday night. Nando's, obviously. Nando's,
so because you've been fairly strict throughout the week, you can allow if you feel like something like a pizza or a burger, you can.
Yeah, or not even that, just in a sense if I can fit it into those calories. If I can fit it into that, it works out. And like I always think, like I always say to the lads, like your calories are kind of like a credit card. So if you've got say if you've got like a £2,000, I don't know, let's make it up, £2,000 a day credit card, it's like 2,000 calories a day. Obviously that would be mad. Imagine you had two grand a day, just piss it. You had like 14,000 a week. You could split that into the week. So you might, say I'm going to have a couple of days where I do 1,500 and then a day where I do 3,000. And it's like that obviously averages out. So that's, stuff like that. We just literally straight away.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So you have an allocation, and you can allocate it
Yeah,
however you want throughout that week, but you've got to never go over the top limit.
you just got to make it that whole week, so it's that block, and then it might be like we've got
conserve them at the beginning of the week and then go crazy at the end of the week.
and like, to be fair, if you could fit it around and make it work, it would stop, like, because I think a lot of people, what they do is they go, oh, I'm going to stick to 1,000 calories, say, or something mental like that. They're like, oh, I'm going to only eat 1,000 calories. I know a lot of women do it more than men.
What's
and
the
like,
average?
I'll never advocate this to that. Oh, so like 2,500 a day is like male, and I think just under 2,000 like women. But like, it's if you were like, I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day, but then by day 3, you'll be on, say you've done 3,000 calories and you've got 14,000 that you could have had a week. Say it's like 11,000 calories you had left, but they'll do like the next 4 days, they'll do like 5,000 calories without even noticing it. And they'll do like 20,000 within 4 days. And they're like, well, yeah, you did 1,000 calories a day for 3 days. And then you had 4 days where you did 5,000. So you've done
kind of
20.
Undone all your good work.
Yeah, you've done 23,000 calories without even noticing. Whereas like if you just stuck to 2,000 calories a day, but stuck to it, or even 14,000 calories a week, it would work. And I think like people don't realize, like, not to go too deep into it, but like, like a packet of biscuits, like a decent packet of like chocolate biscuits that like I know I personally could just smash in like 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
You could do it, couldn't you? Like, I'm human, I'm not going to hold it up, but like you're talking like 1,200 calories for like one packet of biscuits, and you're thinking, well, say if you did that every night of the week, which I know first lockdown, and this is what I say to the lads a lot, like I was doing that, and I put on so much weight, like because I was so stressed from work and stuff going on and whatever.
Unmotivated.
Yeah, and you've got kind of like 7,000, it's like 7,000 calories just there, and then if you add on top of that, you're like, oh, well, I'll have a takeaway on a Friday and a Saturday, and then a roast on a Sunday. And before you know it, that 14,000 calories you had for the week is done with biscuits and takeaways, but you've not actually thought about the rest of the stuff that you're going to be eating. Yeah. Or even like, obviously I don't want to really go fully into it because it will take hours, but like talking about like lads who skip breakfast and then they end up binge eating in the afternoon, and they end up.
What's your thoughts on skipping breakfast then? Is that recommended or not?
No, it 100% would matter with what you're trying to achieve. So it depends on what you're trying to do, and also what fits your life. But in the sense of like, what I think what's not a good idea is to skip breakfast and then eat all your calories in that one afternoon. Right. Whereas obviously, if you're, imagine if you're training at say 2:00 and you've eaten nothing until 2:00, or I know what a lot of lads that I've coached and PT'd and stuff used to do is they'd go, well, I'm not going to. They basically would skip. They skip breakfast. They probably smash something like, say, like a meal deal at lunch. So, like, quick sandwich, yeah. Like something simple that's just quick, but it's not actually giving you any energy. Then they go to the gym and have absolutely no energy in the gym and can be confused at why.
Yeah.
And then they go home and smash, a massive amount of food that's just getting it in, just as much as they can be, like 3,000 calories, say. And then in the morning, wake up and skip breakfast again. And it's like, well, you've
do
not
the wrong way
actually
around, really.
Yeah, you've not really.
If you're going to do something strenuous, your body needs the fuel to do it.
After having like 7 hours at work, especially like you say, like you've had like 7-8 hours at work doing whatever you're doing, even if it's mentally more draining than anything, and then you get to the gym and you're surprised that you don't have any energy. Or it's like lads don't even think about that. Walking will get you to burn fat. Yeah. And it's like, even just by hitting 10, 15,000 steps a day and moving a bit more is going to be a much better idea than actually trying to hit, every single day I need to be in the gym. And it's like, I think because we don't ever get explained that sort of stuff. And I think it should be a lot higher on priority of telling people what to do. But I think because we don't get explained that, it's quite difficult to actually, get people to think like, you just need to do these simple things and that will get you the result. And it's actually getting the lads to see that, really. But I hope that makes sense.
I've started going for walks just around here, but listening to podcasts because. So for me, it works perfectly.
Yeah, there you go. That's literally spot on. Like it's stuff like that that's just going to get that to sort of help. And then like I obviously like the networks and stuff I'm in, like the mentorship. So you have like a lot of like calls with the lads where you just catch up with like more the guys that we kind of work with and stuff. So like a lot of the time now I'll just do those but walk, and then you're like, that's a much better idea. And it's like, yeah, like any movement that you can get in, and like it's like standing desks. Having a standing desk is going to mean that you're not sat down all day, or like especially I know people working from home not having that routine, like we say, and then you kind of could be in bed all day, couldn't you? You could be in bed all day,
Technically, yeah.
And then not even notice. But yeah, definitely.
Some people could like work from home in bed.
Yeah. Wake up, go straight into work, and then be like, "I'm going to train today." Nah.
So even though you've got nowhere to go on, to take nothing to do, it's to trying to give yourself certain things to do, like a routine. Even if it's just a small scale routine, it just gives you that routine is vitally important, I think.
Or like a really good example, and obviously I put the testimonial up, so I hope he doesn't mind. But like Gannon, if you look at Gannon on my page, he's a chef. So as you can imagine, like he's not been at work for obviously that period, and he's used to like early starts, all this stuff, and he's just started now being like, I need to go for a run at 7 o'clock in the morning. So like that gets him up to have that. It's not necessarily he needs to. It's just give him that structure.
Yeah.
And then he's got like things that he sets out in his day that he then is going to find is more positive. So like now he's doing a lot of, and it's really cool actually. See, he's doing a lot of like sort of work on like stocks and like looking at how like investments work. And he's not necessarily doing it. He's researching it. So like he's been going through all that, and that's given him more, like you say, purpose. And even like obviously the program we've given him to do, and the education side around kind of that is giving him that structure and ability. And actually, I think, like you say, that habit you need to build those. And it's I think it's Marc Rhodes and a couple of the other guys that are in the same mentorship have talked about like any soldier knows the biggest thing that you need to do straight away is establish those routines.
Yeah.
And when you've got them in place, so like I've got this one set up here is like blue and green and red everywhere. When you've actually got like time that you're going to be at work, time that you're going to train, time that you're going to be off with your other partner, and like me and Becca started playing the Wii. Remember like Nintendo Wii?
It's great.
I just bought one of those just because that was like 60 quid, bit of a laugh, like whatever. So we've got like specific Wii times. And I know that people think like, oh, that sounds so like, oh, I can't be that disciplined. But it's like the freedom of that to know that like all my workouts are taken care of. I know that I'm going to be doing 6 to 8 hours of work between X time and X time. And then like stuff like this, podcasts and stuff, they're all sort of put in for, that's why I kind of said Thursday. And then it's like time that you can switch off and kind of recharge. I think it is important, like you say, Mark, like it's having purpose to your day, because it's so easy, like you say, for people to kind of get lost in all this stuff that's going on and feel hopeless, really. But yeah, I think that's a big part of it, definitely.
So what are some of the main results that you've seen from people? Because you've not really been doing that. You're still fairly early on in your journey, aren't you?
Yeah. 2 years. I think 2 years, like in the career. Like I've had, so like like sort of talking about recent ones. If you talk about the ones with the new systems, like so, the local Sam Booth, we just gained 13 kilos, sorry, of like solid muscle. And if you have a look at his sort of pictures, like, and that was deployed. So he's actually away, like with the military. He's been away doing that. And before that, it was 3 months he was training with sandbags and potatoes. That was fucking cool. Like, yeah, that's so cool to actually adapt that and go forward. Colin Sims, like really, really, like I've had him literally since day one of my sort of career path for the last 2 years of like doing that. And he's recently, he left his old career and had the confidence to go for a higher job, got that job. He's lost, bloody hell, I wouldn't even know, like 2.5 stone in the last however many years, but sustained it, being able to do it. He's just about to have his firstborn and all those sort of things. So he's now prepped and ready to not have a dad bod. That's been obviously massive. In the last, like I took on, bloody hell, if we actually look at it, I think took on at least like 40 people while being in sort of the mentorship that I'm in now in the last like 6 odd months. And there's at least like 6 to 7 lads that have smashed out a stone in 3 months easily, like not even thought about it. Ewan Liederbrook, he's a lad who is he's like a referee for a rugby, so he's now got a promotion, so he's in like the top league of that. So he's gone up to that state, and he actually had the confidence and ability to go for that, which has been really good. Like Liam Frost started his own personal training business. So he actually had the confidence to go in to do that. That was awesome to see. He's still in the program, which is great because he's actually had that ability to be like, a lot of his issues were self-doubt that he could do it. That's been really cool. Liam Dunkley, a lad that I actually used to go to school with, is now just about to get ready for his wedding. He's a stone and a half down already, which is really cool.
It's not just women who want to lose weight for the wedding photos, is it?
No. Like obviously, I only coach blokes. I only coach men, but plenty of lads that want to go from there, and it's huge. But I think definitely they're the most like sort of significant ones that I've seen. I used to, when I PT'd, obviously, like, still coached women. There's a girl actually called I don't know if she will listen to this, but like Sophie Gibson now is going to compete, so she's actually going to compete on like stage and stuff, and that's been quite cool to from afar, because I think I coached her for about 6 months, to sort of look at it from afar now and be like, I played a small part in getting her to stage, which is cool. Loads of early on, a lot of people that were joining the military, I kind of got ready, which was quite cool, and lads going into that, which has been fantastic. But yeah, like those are the quite significant ones, like solid muscle without any kit. The sandbags and potatoes, I thought was fucking cool. Yeah, I thought that was really cool from obviously Sam.
So do you do all your own like social media and everything?
Yeah. At the moment, I've got like a bit of a marketing team, so I've got a copywriter and then obviously a graphic designer and those guys. So I don't really take care of any of that. We sort of sit down on a Monday and come up with the content, and then they like do it all for themselves.
You're on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, just every week, not sort of got to the monthly point yet, but yeah, kind of in that point, yeah.
It's pretty full on. It's almost like it's a huge part of the job, isn't it? If you, especially
I mean, like you don't really think about it, do you? You don't really think like, oh, you're going to be. I know that like a lot of fitness instructors don't realize that like marketing and sales are like money is the lifeblood of what you do, and also like what you charge relates to what you're able to reinvest. Yeah. So so we've got like a lab which is like inside the website, and like, well, I don't know. I suppose I won't go too deep into it, but even that is like $1,000. Like to get that built was like £1,000, and it's like.
I looked at your website. Your website is really good.
Yeah, and that all that stuff on there was like someone else did that. So I think people don't realize, like, when you're trying to reinvest into your business, you have to reflect that in what you're gonna, charge. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, what you're then gonna, put back into it. So like the mindset coach we're bringing in, like Mandy, absolutely incredible. Went through like all self-sabotage stuff. Like that's like £150 a session, and like this, and people don't even think like that's like we're going to do 3 of those a month or whatever. And it's like all this stuff, you look at it around and think like, hell. But yeah, I think the business world is so, like, when you look at it, it's so mad. And obviously Phil, a lot of that I attribute to sort of Phil, of how he's been able to take us through, like, this is what you need to do with, like you say, social media, sales, marketing, client fulfillment, how you actually help those clients and deliver it properly. And because you kind of imagine that, I know that everyone's going to say like online coaching is this new fad, and there's all these things that people have just sprung up out of nowhere, and they're like, oh, suddenly I'm an online coach. And it's kind of like, well, there's no kind of backing to it. And fully, I will disclose, when I first started, that was me. Like, I went from PT, the gyms got closed, and I went, right, well, I've got to go on to online coaching, so I've got to do X, Y, and Z. I was doing spreadsheets and diet plans and whatever I could just give to people, and obviously not really taking it too seriously. Whereas I think as soon as I kind of joined Authority Network and looked at what I could actually do with it, you look at like the areas that you need to be covering. So like you say, build that system, like even just the website to actually help somebody. It's a lot better, definitely a lot better. But I think that's like everything, isn't it? No one's going to say to you, like, when you become self-employed and you're a fitness instructor, you're going to need to know about business. You're like, no, surely not. I just need to know about running and lifting weights. But definitely.
But it's a whole different side of it, taken to the online world. I don't know, like having your own premises, maybe, where people come to you.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? It is mad when you think like there's so much more involved in. I tell you what is mad is like doing your taxes and stuff. There's so much more. When you leave the military, they don't say to you like, oh, well, I think I had like, I think I must have had like one self-employed workshop that was like an hour, and they literally just had like, fucking hell, Jesus, this is mad to think actually, like it's gone like that. There was like 40 of us in a room, and basically this like old, like, I can't remember, like this old guy came in and basically discussed all about like business and stuff, and he was like, so what are you doing? And there was like me and this other, I think he was like a Lance Corporal or whatever, it was like in the Marines as well. We both were like, oh, we're going to go into personal training, we're going to do this and this. And like, there was loads of other people in the room. Like one lad was like, I'm going to do like, oh, what's he doing? I'm going to do like flipping houses, so like rebuilding houses. All these people that came up with completely nuts ideas at the time. Actually, about like there was a guy who was like, I'm going to create like the right. I hope he's not watching this, but like I even when he said it, I was like, oh mate, like Jesus, are you serious? You know the door hanging flowers that people put on there. It's like, yeah, I'm going to create and sell those. And I was like, super essential, definitely. But I think they were all like, they were complete opposite of me and this other lad. Like they were more like retiring. They just wanted to do something for a bit of a laugh. They were going to get a pension anyway.
Yeah.
But I remember being sat there and kind of thinking like, because I didn't have a clue, like you say, about any of this stuff. Like they were talking about like domain names and like website, this, that, and the other. And I remember thinking like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
why would I need to know about any of that?
yeah. I remember at the time actually thinking like, I just want to help people like move. Like, yeah, that was it. But yeah, it is mad, isn't it, Mark? You think like the world of like business and premises and all that stuff. It's like bricks and mortar businesses. I feel a lot more sorry for those because there's a lot that goes on with it, isn't there?
Unless you're in like food and drink, which are never going to go away. It's tough.
Yeah.
Like, shops. Yeah. Who's going to go? I mean, high street retail was on the decline anyway, so this is just going to push a lot of it further down or over the edge.
Yeah, and then Amazon's made what 96 billion in the last quarter.
Yeah, made all the money.
Yeah, and he puts it. Oh, I'm not going to smash it too much, but he puts these adverts where he's like, "Yeah, we're donating this, that, and the other," and you're like, "Oh, mate, I saw like we're going completely off track, but I love that. I saw this thing that was fucking so cool. It's basically like a pound. It's like a huge thing of rice, like huge, like absolutely massive, and they like siphoned off like a little bit, and they were like, this is the equivalent of 100 million to Jeff Bezos. So they were like, if you had this small grain of rice of like, this is his 100 million house, or this is 100 million that he's just given to charity. And then they're like, this is the like however many billions, and it's like huge. But anyway,
him and Bill Gates.
Yeah, mate. Imagine that.
Go on.
Yeah, it's not actually fathomable how much money they control because that's all they do.
Yeah, it doesn't seem real.
Yeah, like you kind of think that like I've started really like Kylie is one of the mindset coaches that does like work for Phil, and she goes into like limiting beliefs around money, and like money is it's just a number, it's just an exchange of numbers on us most of the time, and for me it's just an exchange of what I'm going to offer them as a service for a number on a screen that will be moved from one screen to another. But like you think like what that does is give you the ability to control X, Y, and Z. And it's like you say, like Jeff Bezos just has all this money. So it's like, well, he has control of it. And it's like, I bet that like, I thought about this the other night, like, oh, I've gone completely off track. But like, I bet he doesn't actually know how much he has.
Well, I bet once you get past a certain point, you have no idea. Like, Bill Gates is worth $1.2 trillion. Like, I don't really know what that means.
Where is that?
Past like £100,000 when you get like 50 million, 100 million, a billion. I was like, I don't really know. I don't know what that means.
Or like there'll be accounts that are like in his name with his money in it, and he doesn't know. And you'll be like, how? Like, because they can't keep it in one account. So imagine, but like I sometimes say this to like, obviously people I talk to, or like, the lads that I have discussions with about like. Yeah. It is just literally like your ability to know that it's going to come back to you. So he's like, all this 96 billion, that's that, he's offering a service with Amazon and its ability to like fulfill people, and people have gone, I know that I want that, so I'm going to use it. And that has then obviously given, him the ability to grow that. And he's just, had that process. But it's like, that's what I always say to the lads on the phone. It's like, well, you're not actually sending anything. You're not sending like your legs or your arms. You're just saying that I'm going to invest this amount of my flow.
They're investing in themselves.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, so obviously when I hired Phil and obviously Isaac, you look at the same thing for me. It's fucking terrifying. You're like,
but it's also for them. They're spending hard-earned cash, so that should be a motivator to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for me. Like, I know both of those guys that I've obviously hired, I absolutely rinse everything I can off those. Because I'm like, look, say you want, and I think that's the difference, isn't it? Like, like how easy is it to sort of let's say like a fiver. Like you could spend a fiver in Tesco, couldn't you, and be like, I don't even care. So it's like when someone says like, "Oh, I want to, I'm going to join this program that's £50 a month," and it's like, well, that's the equivalent of, I can't even work it out, like £15 a week, like less than like £3 a day. And you're like, how much do you actually value that? Like, and like you say, are you going to go after it and absolutely, use everything from it? And they're like, well, probably not. And it's like, well, yeah, well, that's probably why that you're never getting the results you want, because you only value yourself to that amount. And it's so many times that I've done it for years. I had that limited belief myself, and it's always those things about it. But I think a lot of people don't talk about it, do they? They don't talk about that it is only numbers, and we're not talking about, like, I always think that, like, you will never get your time back, but you will. How many times has, let's say, for instance, like, I don't know, whatever, like £100 has gone in and out of your account for something or other so many times, and we don't actually realize that it is in flow, it's in movement, it's going around and exchanging hands all the time. But we don't think about the fact that actually our time is something that you're only going to have, you're moving through that and you'll never get it back.
It's only it's depleting. It's never going to increase.
Yeah.
It's mad. But you can make the most of the time that you have.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think that's the biggest thing that I try and, like, sort of, myself, I'm trying to actually, I'm still diving into that very much, and I think you will be for a long period. But like, like, it's letting go of that limiting belief, really, isn't it? And that sort of thought process. And
so you're almost at like 3,000 followers on Instagram. So like, when you get to like 10,000, I think that's when you can do the swipe up thing.
Swipe up shit,
and you can start getting your page verified, and that's when you can sort of be a bit more involved in it and get more. I think you get more statistics out of your users as well in demographic. I think the way you're going, you'll just organically just get to that point anyway.
I sort of hope so. I think the main thing for me is to, like, this year just reach 60 clients, so like sort of 20, 30 more online, but maintain those lads and keep them in the program and just get unreal results. So for me, like, the sort of 3,000, or like you say 5,000, 10,000, it is partly an aim to build a
not
following.
Primary one though.
Yeah. I mean, like, it'd be great, like you say, if you've got 10,000 followers and a blue tick, that people might take you a bit more seriously, or they might say that, X, Y, and Z. I know as soon as like,
it's more important for you how you get there, which is just doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I think, and then just keep sort of chipping away at it and really going at that. But like, I think James Smith talks about it loads in his book, didn't he? Like, no one noticed who he was for like 5 years, and then suddenly it just had a year where it went, and it was like, well, but like, and he's as sort of like canny as he is a millionaire. Like, the guy's now a millionaire now. It's mad, but it's been mad.
So what are your targets for this year then?
What, like, financially, just or like
in general?
Like,
any?
So the biggest thing for me, as I say, is like sort of reach 60 clients, like reach those sort of level with the lads. I got an ultra marathon in December with Drew, like one of my good mates. So we're doing, I think it's just under 35 miles, like running across there. And then the main thing, sort of like life. So I suppose that's like fitness and business sort of covered. And then life is to kind of sell this place in next January, and then move into an actual house with Becca, just because she wants the dog now. But like, get. Kind of, I think for me that would be quite a staple, that I know that, like, having left the military, I've still sustained, like, being alive. Because I genuinely, and I've said this to Ollie and a couple of lads a couple of times, to be fair, like, I didn't even know if I was going to make it. I was like, I just need to make a bit of money. Just, like you say, when I bought this place, I was like, fucking hell, I'm gonna have to sell. I remember literally like selling like shoes on eBay I went to like fully, and I've said this to so many people. I was like, that is the most stressful situation I put myself in, and I don't know why.
Well, in a way, it was the best situation you could have been in, because it's led you to where you are now.
Pure panic of like, I do not know what's going to happen,
it must have been some self-belief there, otherwise you wouldn't have put yourself in that situation in the first place, I don't think.
I think it was kind of like you say, like,
it's like, you've been in the military, you've done all that, you kind of knew where you were going roughly, so you just had to, well, if I've said that and I've gone through this, I've got to do it.
I think I basically, yeah, I pretty much told that many people I was going to do it. I was like, fuck, I've got to
Better do
fucking do
this now.
it. Yeah, and then you're like, well, I started now, and like, and then you're like, oh shit, and then it just kind of, yeah, it just happened really. I think you're like, oh god, and then like you said exactly there, like you said about like stuff with social media and all that stuff starts to come into place, and you start sort of snowballing towards the next point. It is a bit like bloody hell, it's nuts, but yeah, it is. It is. I tell you what is cool to sort of think, and I like about the fact that if you've survived in business or whatever you're doing in the last 12 months, now that you can, in the next 3 years, you might have put yourself really, in a good place to really make an impact. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I think as much as we talked about it already, like money for me is just the lifeblood of my business. So it's to keep me able to keep doing what I do, because there are expenses. There's stuff that you have to pay every month for loads of different systems and stuff and staff and whatever. But I think for me, like the biggest thing that I always want to do is create an impact. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is like to actually solve the issues that these blokes have, to actually help them feel, they've got a better life. And if I can keep, if I can cause more of an impact in the next 2-3 years, because I stuck it out for the last 12 months, sorry, then I think that's the biggest like sort of exciting thing for me really, is to think that you could be impacting loads of people's lives and helping loads of others to do more inspiring things. But yeah, definitely that's
the similar thing. That was a similar thing for me with the podcast. That was one of my aims, was to like have, not necessarily with me, but like the people who I'm talking to, like the conversations that I have impact other people who are listening or watching. And
yeah, there you go. And I think like, yeah, there's always
a while
goals
to get there. It was just like crickets at first. You don't have an audience to begin with, but then slowly you started getting feedback from particular episodes, or I've heard that people who listened to it got in contact with a guest for whatever reason, because they heard this and they heard that, and it's just like that's part of the reason why. The other reason was just to learn from people and just hear people's stories, because I love talking to people.
Yes, yeah.
It's just been a slow, gradual. Obviously, the lockdown, the whole thing's kind of set us back a bit, because I had to go remote. And I mean, I've loved talking to you tonight, but you cannot beat the in-person studio thing. And like the studio that we have, which is like a purpose-built, amazing studio. It was an event for the guests to come to the studio as well. That was part of the whole thing. They would like tag themselves, they do social media, look where I am and stuff like that. So that's my aim for this year, is just get
back. I'll come down.
We only did 3 episodes in this new studio before we went to this third lockdown, so it was like,
oh mate.
Where are you at?
Yeah, when it's reopened, let us know. Yeah, Cheltenham, like based
on here. It's a fair journey.
Cheltenham, yeah. Where is it? Where are you based?
We're in Cumbria.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Just south of Scotland.
Yeah,
it's not far on the train, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd be all right. I used to live in. I was based in Arbroath, so I was in 4-5. That was in Arbroath. Yeah. Never know. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So if
I think the big.
Go on.
Sorry, go on. I was going to say that is a big thing in it, like miss actual interactions with people. Definitely in this period, but yeah,
you get sick of Zoom after a while, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's different when it's for work, but like if you all your friends and your family use Zoom, you just yeah. But like even just like go to the pub with a bunch of people and just have a beer and just having a crack. As humans, we require that human interaction. We need it.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing the government probably aren't even thinking about, is that's actually quite a big deal. Yeah, definitely.
It's going to be. It's going to be a strange day. You'll feel weird going when they say it's okay, you can do it. You'll still feel weird doing it.
Imagine like a nightclub where they're like,
you're like a concert or in the theatre.
Yeah. You're like, you can go to a concert.
You don't need to wear a mask. You're like, really?
Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah, it's mad. It'd be mad.
I wonder how long that'll be before like the first.
Oh mate, it's got to be
full stadium or a full arena. When will that be? Do you think it'll be in 2021? I have my doubts.
Maybe like November, December if it is. Yeah. But like even that, like probably looking at like 2022. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it, when you think? But like nightclubs and stuff like that, I feel so sorry for them, because that's been good 12 months.
Like that, the performing arts and the music industry has been hit the hardest, I think.
Just out, and there's nothing. Yeah.
And like I say, like high street chains and independent shops as well. They're just a lot of them just gone, never to return.
Gone. Yeah,
so I think
it's meant to be.
What it's going to get to a point. I mean, it was already, like I said, on a decline of footfall in the high streets going into shops. What's the end? What's the end result? What will we still go into the high street for?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a mad one, isn't it? When you think like Amazon is so instant that like you wouldn't even bother to go somewhere and like move it. You know, why would you? You're like, well, I'll probably get it cheaper online. I can see all the
Yeah.
ones I want to look at. I think maybe like there'll still be a point where people want to look at clothes like before they
Yeah, that
buy them.
physically want to touch things.
Yeah, but even that, like you've got free returns. I don't know. Yeah, I genuinely don't know. They
Because those
always
shops
struggle.
have to pay rent and they have to pay staff, whereas
Yeah,
online you can cut a
yeah.
lot of that
Like
out. So
yeah, like bricks and mortar businesses is not cheap. Like
no.
you run a business where it's like fully like a couple of thousand a month or whatever to rent somewhere
So you
is
think the
mad. And
councils would think to like
yeah,
let's slash the rents so that people can
mm,
have. Otherwise, we're gonna have empty streets, and who wants that?
yeah, yeah, and then just loads of people sat at home on their computers, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, yeah, or like even like you say, like takeaways and stuff. So it's like, oh, well, you can maybe go shopping, then go to a restaurant, and that whole experience is bigger than just one shop, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah,
it's mad.
we get so lazy. Everything's just automated. It's like
Yeah,
click a
yeah,
button, I
yeah,
want this, and then like
yeah,
20 minutes
yeah.
later, ding dong, it's at your door. It's kind of like it's not
It's
good.
like fucking yeah, it's like Tinder. It's just like I'll just find my wife. But okay, like all right, okay,
I
like
remember when I even first heard about drive-throughs when I was a kid, just thinking that's mad.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
mad. So it's
yeah.
just you just
Or even
there you
like
go.
I was saying this to one of my mates. Like I phoned him up and I was saying to him about like you remember a point. There was a point, and probably anyone watching this, I don't know, it depends how old they are. But like, was it a point where you just go around knocking your mate's door and be like, "Is he in?"
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you wouldn't even know. You just go around and wouldn't even know. And it's like that's completely gone for kids now, isn't
I'd
it?
love
It's
to
like,
see
of
that
course,
now. Us as like grown men going around each other's house, knocking on it as a group, knocking on Dave's doors. Dave in. We're gonna go out. We're gonna
is he in?
play.
Is
We're
he?
gonna play Kirby.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, of
A lot
course
of
he is.
grown
Of
men
course.
throwing a ball in the street.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Oh, brilliant. Or now kids would be like, of course I know he's in because I'm speaking to him on like Google
Yeah,
it in.
he's
Yeah,
geotagged. He's here. I can see him. He's right here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got him on. Yeah, I've tracked him anyway.
Like
So,
kids
yeah,
now, they're all a screen, always a screen
yeah.
in front of their eyes.
And just watching someone else, and doing yeah, it's mad. But yeah, yeah,
Because I remember back in the day, I've just turned 40, so
yeah.
I remember the days when nothing was open on a Sunday, even
Shit.
supermarkets. I remember when supermarkets were going to open on a Sunday for a short period of time. People were going crazy, like they couldn't imagine it. And now you couldn't imagine it being closed. No, it's Sunday's
Yeah,
just
it'd be
like any other
weird.
day. There's
Yeah,
the odd
you'd be like,
shop that's closed, but mainly everything's open.
yeah. It'd be weird, wouldn't it? You'd be like, what? Like, how is that? I can't get to a shop on a Sunday. Yeah, but it'd be mad. But yeah.
Mental.
Or I remember like the first ever like online purchase. I think I did, and I was like, oh, is this going to turn up?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're like so
Suddenly,
like
no confidence in it at all.
yeah, you're like, have I paid? Do they know that I've paid? Like yeah, it's
Oh,
so like mad.
I did a post one time last year. You can go into your Amazon and look at your first ever order. So
Oh
I
my
did a
god.
post. My first ever order was in like January 2002, and it was Spaceballs, the DVD. I love that film.
Spaceballs. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
love it.
Nice.
Star Wars spoof. It's brilliant. You doing it
I'm
now?
gonna check that out. Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Brilliant.
I'd
Because I was
end up
thinking,
doing.
I wonder what. 'Cause I didn't know how far it went back, but it goes all the way back.
You just keep going and going. Bloody hell.
2002.
This is where it's I've probably got like a new account from this, or I don't know something.
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah,
always had the same account.
I'm looking at it. Oh, I don't know. Oh,
It's
give
gonna
me
be
something.
interesting. Some
Oh,
people,
I
most
didn't
people
even.
that like, commented on my post was just like really random stuff. Like I
What
think
like
people
what
were
they've
just
got?
buying, maybe like spending something that was like £2. So if it didn't show up, they weren't bothered
Yeah, yeah.
because they're
As a
like they're
first
not
one
they weren't going to buy
thing.
like a TV or something like that. No, they would now.
Yeah. No, you would now. You just you could order anything from Amazon,
You
couldn't you?
wouldn't
Like
care.
you
You were
could
just
order
like.
like
"Brr."
anything. Yeah, like I ordered
I
the
saw the other day videos of them drones delivering. Still testing those drones delivering stuff. I'm like,
what
whoa!
what what? That's the thing.
It come out
That's
of
that.
fly over
Yeah.
someone's house, drop it in front of their front door, and then gone.
I thought that was just South Park. I thought that was just a South Park thing. Fucking
It's
hell.
not been implemented, but they've been doing tests with it.
They're trying it. They're
Yeah. Have
trying it.
you found
That's
it?
nuts. I would order stuff just to get a drone to fly it
Yeah, but
in
I'm
the
just
crap.
imagining people like with shot rifles out the window.
You
Got
just
it.
nick the drone. You just nick
Yeah,
the. You'd
yeah.
be like, I'm just gonna order a drone, but nick this drone, and then be like, oh, I didn't even. Yeah, it didn't come, mate.
I got a
That's got to
free
be
drone
something.
with my order.
Yeah. Like, I thought I'd ordered that, but like, yeah, it's mad. But
You
I think
found it?
a dartboard, a magnetic dartboard.
That's
So
what you
the
bought.
first thing I don't know why.
When was it?
I don't know. Oh, 16. So not that like early
Oh,
ago.
so
But
you
yeah,
probably
I think
had an
that's
account
because
before that.
you were captain. Yeah, I would
A
have had an account
magnetic
before that, but
dartboard.
yeah, literally just a magnetic dartboard. So like you like soft bit and you throw it at it. But
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
I-
Kill time. Kill time.
yeah, exactly. There we go. Yeah, awesome, dude.
Oh,
But
man, it's
yeah.
been brilliant talking to you. It's flown
Hey,
by.
it's been good. It's been good. I wasn't
Over an hour
sure
and
what
a
to
half.
expect that thing. Yeah, like how long are these normally? How long does this normally go for? Like,
Well, in the studio, sometimes they're up to 3 hours.
there you go. There
It
you
just
go. But
it
yeah,
just
yeah,
depends on the guest and the conversation. You just never
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But no, it's been fantastic. So, if
Cool.
anyone has listened to this and is interested, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Just literally the Instagram page is normally where most lads sort of reach out. Obviously, all the Facebook. Just drop us a message and like. But I say, you know, if it's just in general about like advice about joining the military or advice about whatever, obviously just drop me a message. If it is something where you feel like you actually want to get on our team, obviously if you look at the sort of tagline in the bio, just drop me a message. Literally just drop me a message with the word confidence.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna just instantly force you into the team. Don't worry, I'll actually have a little bit of a conversation beforehand, and then we'll jump on the phone, and then from there. But yeah, the Instagram page is probably the best page.
I'll put a
But
link
yeah.
in the show notes so anyone can check that
Awesome,
out.
dude. Well, thanks
Cool.
so much for that. Really good. But yeah, been
Oh,
awesome. Like I think
we'll do this
Good
again in like another year or
Yeah.
something when everything's sort of getting back to normal. See where you're at on your journey.
100%. That's I'd love that. That's actually really like solid accountability, and I'll
Yeah.
let you know like client level and what we've sort of been able to do in the last 12 months. But mate, that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, it'd be really good. But
Cool.
cheers, Mark. Thank you very much.
No worries,
Cheers,
man.
dude. I'll drop you off. I'll drop
Yeah.
you off from here.
Cheers, man.
Yeah. Cheers, dude.